Hello and welcome back to Beckler Guitars and Repairs, and today we've got another Ibanez. So I know we just did one, but this one came up on Marketplace, and this is kind of what that first Ibanez was built off of. So this is an Ibanez S540BMAV. So the BM stands for burled maple, which this one has a burled maple top and a burled maple back with a mahogany body. And the AV stands for antique violin. Let's check it out. You can see the burled maple top right there. It's pretty nice. There's a little bit of movement there, and it looks good. So this guitar has a top and a back, so it's burled maple on the top and on the back, and the rest of the body is mahogany. So we'll see how thick that is when we look at the pickups. And these guitars are crazy thin, just like that other Ibanez we reviewed, the S series. I think at the thickest point it's about 1.35 inches. And these are the IBZ USA F1, C3, and F2 pickups from Ibanez. These are actually made by DiMarzio, so they're very nice pickups. And then we've got our Ibanez Floyd licensed trem, and the 5-way switch, our recessed input jack right there at the body, and then rosewood fingerboard, mother of pearl teardrop inlay. It's got a bound fretboard, jumbo frets, and there's our Floyd Rose locker system there. This has Goto tuners, the Japanese ones. This guitar is made in Japan in 1994. There's our burled maple back and our comfort heel cut. Makes it really easy to get to the top frets. There's our wizard neck, and there is our serial number, dating this to a 1993 actually. And there is a little bit of a stress crack right here, right by the screws for the lockers for the Floyd. But I've put a little pressure on there. It doesn't open up at all, so I don't know if it's an old repaired crack or someone just put a little glue on there, or I'm not sure. But anyway, it's holding tight. Yeah, and this guitar is very, very light. We've got a couple little chips here too, I noticed on the side. So we'll see if we can find some proper coloring to repair those. And yeah, my plans for this guitar is I want to get it set up like perfectly. I want to put super slinky 9s on there. I want to get the action almost to nothing. And I want to use it as like a little shredder guitar, you know, for studio recording or for the couch, because it's so lightweight and comfortable to play. So let's see if we can do that. All right, let's get on the bench and check out the specs. All right, weighing in at 6 pounds, 12.8 ounces. So 1.73 at the nut, and a 2.054 at the 12th. I'm not quite ready to take the strings off the Floyd yet, but I do want to measure the neck. So there's a way to do that with the strings on. First of all, you measure the width of the E string. So this one's a 0.42. So I'm going to take that off of our neck depth. So go ahead and measure that at 0.749. So that means the actual neck depth is about a 0.7. 0.7 and a bit. And then on the 12th, The same measurement is 0.852, so about a 0.8 on the 12th. And here's our neck profile. So yeah, we have that nice flat D profile, and it stays pretty flat all the way from the 1st to the 12th. Yeah, it feels very thin. It's got about the same thickness as a normal neck, or width rather, but very thin and like that D profile. And it's got a satin finish on the back too, so it feels very fast. This is a 22 fret. The tremolo system is called the Low Pro Edge locking tremolo from Ibanez. And I think I misspoke before. These are abalone ovals, not mother of pearl, with the rosewood fingerboard. And then we have a cool little custom-made decal here at the end of the fretboard that's inlaid there as well. Okay, so here's our pickup readings. The bridge pickup is reading an 18.3. And then our 4th position here, or rather 2nd position, which is these two pickups here, that's a 4.12. And then the middle, 7.51. And then 4th position, which is a 3.96. And then just our neck humbucker is reading at a 12.61. Alright, since we've never done a Floyd Rose on the channel before, I thought I'd take some time to show how to restring and set up a Floyd. So first of all, you've got your locking string locks up at the nut here. So these need to be loosened in order to get to the strings. So these just lock down here. You just find the appropriate sized Allen key and unlock. And then on the other side, here on the bridge, they lock here. There's these little blocks here that are tightened by these little Allen key holes on the side. So the same size Allen key that fit your nut will fit into these. And then you just want to put a little bit of pressure on your trem system to relieve the tension. And then you can go ahead and loosen these and the strings will just pop right out. So there they go. Alright, so now I'm just working on these chips here. So the chips are in the burst. It's kind of like a browny red kind of a burst. It's a solid color. So I need to find something that will match this color. So I have all these little colors for finish. It's called Mixol. And I've used a brown Mixol and a red Mixol and kind of done a few drops of each until I find a color that really matches this finish. And I think I've got that now. So what I'm going to do is mix that together, and then I'm just going to test it on a little part of the guitar and see how close we are. So yeah, that's very close. Maybe one more drop of brown is going to get me right where I want to be, I think. And then once that's ready, I'm going to mix it in with some glue. And then we can just use that color and that glue to fill those chips. And then what I'm going to do after that is seal it with some super glue. So let's just go ahead and throw some glue on there. And I'm just using clear Gorilla Glue for that, and a toothpick. So mix that all up. And the Mixol is great because it mixes with pretty much anything, hence the name. So it's good for mixing with epoxies or glue or what have you. Now I'm going to use a fresh toothpick and just carefully spread it in those chips. All right, so the color matches quite nicely. We'll see how it looks when it dries, but I'm pretty confident that that's going to be good. And then we can go over a little bit more with some crazy glue just to seal these cracks. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for all of them, and I'll show you the result. All right, so here's a look at our headstock and truss cavity. So we can see that these models have the kind of the Gibson style truss rod. They have the nut on the end. A Gibson size one won't work, so I managed to find one that does work. And yeah, the truss is nice and responsive. A little creaky, but turns well. And then I did run these fresh to the buffer, so they're super nice and shiny now. There's a look at our abalone ovals. And yeah, minimal fret wear on this guitar too. They look really nice. And let's have a quick look at our top here with the burled mahogany. And the top's in really nice shape too, not a lot of scuffs, scratches, or dings. Pretty good shape. And here's a look at our custom made decal that's inlaid into the fingerboard. Alright, let's have a look at our pickups here and our pickup cavity. Alright, so there's our cavity. A little bit of tear out in the routs, but nothing major. And there's a look at our pickups. Those are the DiMarzio pickups that were made for Ibanez. You can just tell by the back. And if you look at our pickup cavity here, so there's just a very thin veneer for the burled maple top, and the rest is just thick mahogany, but just a thin veneer for the top. I'm assuming for the back as well. And there's our middle pickup. And that middle pickup has shielding paint for the single coil. Makes sense. You don't really need it as much for the humbucker cavities. And then there is our bridge pickup route. Looks nice and clean. And the pickup looks about the same here. So yeah, everything's looking good. This is our nut locking portion of the Floyd Rose, and this is called the Top Lock 2. Alright, let's flip it over and see what the back cavity looks like. Alright, here's a look at our back cavity here. So it's pretty standard. It's all shielded with shielded paint. We've got our full-size pots here with capacitors and a pretty standard looking 5-way switch. And then we have the barrel jack style output jack. And here's our Floyd trim cavity. We've got 3 springs and a magnet does stick to this back part there. And we can see right there that the back is a very small veneer over top of the mahogany as well, which is fine. It looks quite good. You can see some of that burl mahogany there in the back. And then our neck is looking good. This is a wizard neck. There's our scarf join there. Now there is a slight crack here, and it feels smooth to the touch, but it looks like there might have been some glue at some point, so maybe there's a small crack there that has been glued. I tried to open it by putting some pressure on the neck, and it's staying quite tight, so whatever happened there, it seems to be very structurally sound now. And there's a look at our serial number, which dates this to a 1993. And a look at our Godo made in Japan machine heads. Alright, I just want to go over the dings quickly. So those have been repaired now. And yeah, they're just drop filled with super glue. And the color has been matched. So they're not perfect. You can still definitely tell that they're there, but they're a lot less noticeable because they're the color matched and sealed. So there's ways to make chips like this invisible, but they require a lot of work. And it's just something I'm not really interested in doing a lot of the time. I'm usually just happy with getting the dings matched and filled, because they don't tend to bother me that much. So yeah, for what we want to do with this guitar, I think they're just fine. I think I'm planning on keeping this in my own personal collection anyway. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and take off the neck and see what that looks like. Alright, so the neck's off here, and there doesn't seem to be anything written on it really, just nothing. It fits in there nice and snugly though. It took a little while to ease it off. And there's a look at our neck pocket. Looks like there's one shim installed at the back there. And there's some sort of factory writing there, but I can't really make it out. So this thing was playing great, so I'm just going to leave that shim where it is. And if we have to mess with it further, we can do that. But for now, I think I'll just leave it there. Go ahead and restring and set up this Floyd Rose. And I'll go step by step since this is the first Floyd we've done on the channel, so we have a record of how to do it. Alright, so the first step will be to restringing a Floyd is to kind of get your trem sitting where you want it. So you want it almost close to flush. So I like just putting a little bit of cardstock in there and kind of getting it right where I want it. So that's about nice and level. So there's ways to set it up afterwards using these two Allen key screw holes, but I like to have the trem sitting pretty much flush with the body. That's just my personal preference. The next step is we're going to take all of our strings and get them, we have to cut off the ball end, insert them into this little block part where we loosened it and removed the strings. So you're going to snip the strings at the ball end, feed it into that little blocked area, and then you're going to tighten your Allen key here until it's snug. You're not going to over tighten like crazy, but you're going to make sure it's firmly in place. And then you're going to do that for each string. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm also going to make sure that my fine tuners here on the very end are set somewhere in the middle, so I have room for adjustment on both sides. And that's going to be a little bit more of an important part later. So make sure these are about middle of the road all the way down. So you want to make sure that you're bottoming out in the little channel there, and you're in the groove at the front as well. So then I'm just going to go ahead and tighten that. So yeah, you don't want to tighten to the point where you're like damaging the string, but you want to make sure it's nice and snug. So that's about where I want it. Now I'm going to go ahead and feed it through to the other end. So I'm going to be going underneath the saddle locks here and underneath my retaining bar, which is in front of that. So then I'm going to go in, and as long as I'm through the nut lock channel and the retaining bar, underneath the retaining bar, I can go ahead and tune it as I normally would. Or restring it as I normally would, rather. Now I'm going to move on and do that for every string. Alright, so I'm just going to go over my method of how to set up a Floyd. There might be other or even better ways of doing this, but this is just how I've been doing it for a lot of years, and I have good success with it. So, okay, all the strings are installed and tuned to basically almost pitch. The next step I'm going to do is flip the guitar over, actually tighten these springs as far as they can go into the body. So as far as you want to go, I like to go not all the way in, but quite tight. So that's probably good enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip the guitar over, and you can see our trim is nice and flush. I'm going to put my back cavity plate just underneath the trim, and that's going to just hold it in place while I work on it. And the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to put this guitar into playing position, like on my lap, and I'm going to tune it up to whatever I want to tune it to. So I'm just going to do E standard in this case, and then we can, so what the steps are is tighten the screws in the back, then tune it up to whatever you want to tune it to in playing position. Then I'm going to stretch the strings to make sure that they're nice and stretched. Then I'm going to tune it up again, and then I'm going to slowly start to loosen the screws in the back cavity until my tuning goes slightly flat, and then I'm going to remove the the pickup cavity for the trim, and it should be sitting about perfectly flush with the string tension equaling the spring tension. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so that's an important part there. So my cavity plate that was held on by tension here, as I loosened the screws, it fell out. So that means that our bridge is nice and flush there, and our string tension is equaling to our spring tension. So now we just need to find a happy medium of tuning it up in this position, and then locking everything down. So let's just check our tuning. So we're a little sharp, so I can counteract that by just loosening the springs, or tightening the springs rather, a little bit in the back, and try to get us right into tune there. So let's just try that. Oh, I should have loosened. Sorry, that was loosening that needed doing. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen. So I'm just a little tiny bit flat now, but that can be counteracted by locking down the nut. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a half a turn tighten here. So we do have our fine tuners in the back too that we can use. So I'm just going to give it just another tiny turn, and I think that should be good. So we're very close to being in tune, and our bridge is nice and level and flush with the body. So I'm going to go ahead and lock down our nut locks here. So that's going to lock the springs in place, or the strings in place, and then we can do our small adjustments with the fine tuners in the back. So I don't want to like go crazy with the tightening, but just so they're locked down. I've seen a lot of people strip these by putting too much pressure on there. Okay, so we're good, and our action is crazy low, so as long as we don't have any fretting out problems, we should be sitting good here. And I'm just using my fine tuners to get fully in tune here in playing position. This is why I mentioned you want to have those fine tuners in middle position at the beginning, so you have the real estate to move up or down depending if you need to tighten or loosen. Because if you need to tighten and there's no more screw left, then you have to kind of reset the Floyd again. So now we're all tuned up and the Floyd is set, nice and level, and our action is crazy low. So let's just quickly check to see if we have any buzzing anywhere, and then we kind of work backwards from that. But if I can have this low of action with no buzzing, that's awesome. It's kind of what I want. I really want a nice kind of a low shredder guitar. So okay, I'm going to start here. Alright, so we do have a tiny bit of buzz here on the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, on the 18th fret. Let me just see. Yeah, there's one tiny little fret there. So, let me just have a look here. Yeah, it looks like there's one tiny little high fret over here. So but it looks like even if you fret it correctly, a little bit differently, if you use the side of your finger, it doesn't quite fret out. So I think I can live with that. I don't want to mess with the whole thing and take it all apart just for one little spot like that. Especially with, I can correct it with a little bit of playing difference. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave that as it is. And we'll check the specs on the setup here. Alright, so I actually managed to raise the bridge a little bit at the post here, just to increase the action ever so slightly on that high E to get rid of that buzz. So now, yeah, there's no buzz on that string anymore, so that's great. So there's no buzz anywhere on the guitar. So yeah, if I fret on the 3rd fret, the strings are just resting very nicely on that 1st fret, so that means that these slots are cut nicely and the relief is very slight in the neck, less than 1 millimeter, and on the high E we're looking at about a 0.75 millimeters. So this is the lowest action I've gotten in quite a long time, so I'm pretty excited about that. This thing's going to be very easy to play, and yeah, a good shredder guitar. All right, here we are with our absurdly low action Ibanez, and I'm plugged into the 65 Fender Deluxe Reverb reissue. I'm using the Carl's speaker soak attenuator, and the amp set at a 3.5, the treble set at 4.5, the bass is set at 4.5, and the reverb's at 2 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and do clean on each pickup, and then we'll throw on some dirt. So yeah, it sounds really good, clean. DeMar's pickups, I mean, they're tried and true. They're amazing pickups. So let's just try a little bit of strumming in each position. I'm just gonna go ahead and raise up my middle pickup just a little bit. It's a little low, so it sounds kind of weak at the moment. There we go. So I got the pickup a little closer to the strings here. And that should be a little bit of better representation. So here I am in the middle. Bridge. So yeah, this guitar sounds great. I'm gonna go ahead and put on a little bit of dirt. okay, yeah. So yeah, pickups sound great, so the bridge pickup sounds like a really nice like PAF style humbucker. It's DiMarzio, it's great. You can play classic rock, even heavier stuff too. And the neck pickup sounds good as well. And yeah, the middle pickup sounds decent. I'm just gonna throw on some really heavy stuff so we can hear what that sounds like. All right, final thoughts on the Ibanez S540BMAV. These are fantastic guitars. And yeah, I'm definitely keeping this guitar because it's something I've been looking for a long time. It's thin and light and plays effortlessly. And it's got a super fast feeling neck. And it's just great to play and learn on. Super comfortable to sit with. And yeah, it's great. It's got the Floyd Rose, so you can just lock it in and not have to worry about tuning. And yeah, really nice specs. The Super Jumbo frets feel great now that it's polished up. They just bend like nothing. And the pickups sound great. The DiMarzio pickups are awesome, and a ton of different combinations with the 5-way switch. And the burled mahogany looks great too. So yeah, nothing bad to say about this guitar. It's great. I'm keeping it. Thanks for tuning in to Beckler Guitars and Repairs. Have a good one.